My name is Michael Norwood. I'm a bassist and luthier, which means I craft and build custom guitars.
Craft and build guitars. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It has its advantages. Believe it or not, I can pretty much make whatever I want to make whenever I decide to switch up instruments. So that's cool having that type of freedom.
Now, have you made any instruments for any celebrities or anything?
I'm working on a couple that I'm kind of holding. I'm sitting waiting until the project is done so that they will release it on their own terms on social media and other platforms that they may have. So I'm kind of sitting on those things right now, but I am working on a few. Yes.
Now, have you always built your own guitars since you started playing, or is it something that you kind of just jumped into?
Something I just jumped into probably about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago now. So kind of came out of wanting to be able to have some of the higher end basses that's on the market, but never really been able to afford them. So, and I've always been pretty handy, being a country boy. So I just dove in it, did my research, and just like anything, you practice, you get better. So that's kind of how that came to be for me.
Mm-hmm. Like, is there any particular type of guitar you've made that just kind of really been out there or really, really cool with it you just really like? And if so, kind of describe what it looks like.
Well, actually, the one that's behind me hanging on the wall is the one that I play now. I play it a lot. I'm really, really, drawn to the particular bass because it really fits, what I do. So the one that's hanging on the wall is one of my favorites, and I've probably built about 40 in the past 5 years, about 40 different ones, and each time getting better and better. But the one on the wall is behind me is the one that I play a lot.
So when you start off to build a guitar, is this something you went to school for, or you just kind of picked it up and did it by feel? Or how you become a guitar builder?
Definitely didn't go to school for it. I've always been, the type of person that if I look at something long enough, I can just figure out how to do it. I mean, growing up, I was that kid that if my toy rolled by itself, I had to figure out why and how it rolled by itself. Other kids playing with their toys, I was tearing mine open, trying to figure out, what made it roll by itself. And that's how I've always been with anything I've ever done and approached. So digging into basses, I'm using the instrument, so why not know about it? And I just started doing my research and had a couple of basses that I took apart and couldn't put back together. And over time, just kept working at it and learned the electronics first, and then I just started building.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. I bet the reaction from your peers in the music business, what do they think about when they find out you built your own bass guitar?
Yeah, that's a funny part because a lot of times they're like, oh, you bought a kit. Well, you bought a kit to put it together. Like you can buy kits online, and basically assemble it like putting together a desk or a puzzle. But I'm like, no, when I buy this wood, it still have the bark on it. I'm doing everything from A to Z. So even the finish, which is another animal in itself. So it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
So what's the what's the time period it takes to do a whole guitar? Like how long does it take? And normally, what's your first step when you trying to get a project like that started?
The timing is kind of depends on my schedule. Like I've actually built one in 2 weeks, but I'm working 16, 17 hour days, which I don't advise that of anybody. But because I also play on professional basis and I play a lot as well, I generally at this point in the game try to pace myself out and give them a couple months. That way I'm not overdoing it. Because you have to have some rest at some point. I still have to work. I need to know what I need to know when I'm showing up on other people's shows as well as mine. But as far as my first step with building a bass, It's all about the wood, the type of woods. I decide on, the type of woods that I want and the look that I'm going for. And I spend a lot of time, in the wood yards, wood shops, tapping on the woods, seeing what tones I like, matching up woods, see if it's going to pair together as far as the look that I'm going for. So it has to look pretty and still do the job, that it's supposed to do. It don't need, it doesn't matter about it looking good and it sounds like crap. So that's it's a fine balance between all of that. So that's my first step.
Mm. And then I guess to just take it to the end, what's like normally the last thing you do when you put together a bass? What's like that finishing touch?
The last thing is the finish, making sure that I don't have any scratches or anything in it, because it's very easy to do if you're not paying attention. Making sure that all the scratches are out, making sure it's buffed to perfection in the basic overall setup of the instrument, meaning the feel of the neck, the height of the strings, and all of that. Because it's one way to look at it is, we all drive cars at some point in our life, but my setting may not be the same as yours. I'm 6'7", so my seat pretty much can be pushed all the way back to as far as it can go. So it's kind of the same equivalent with each instrument that I build for a client. I'm making sure that it's set up according to their standards, because if not, they're not going to play it. It's not going to feel comfortable to you,
Yeah.
regardless of how well it looks. It just I have to set it up to that point for that client.
Oh, that's real cool. So they get a nice customized piece of equipment there, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. The whole thing is to take the fight out of the playing, because if you're on stage and you're fighting with your instrument, you can't focus on your job. You're sitting there and you're consistently having to turn knobs and trying to find your sweet spot, for better like terms. That's like one of the worst things in the world as a musician to experience. So
Mhm.
I really really take pride in the time and making sure that all of those things are on point.
Mhm. Now you said something that's kind of interesting that you said when you customize your guitar, you have to do it for yourself, and the fact that you're six, you said 6'7" or 6'5",
6'7".
6'7". Wow. Okay,
Yes.
so growing up in Mississippi, how many times did people try to convert you to basketball or football instead of musician?
Well, that's I played basketball for years. I mean, I played all overseas, and
Oh,
that
really?
during that period of time, I wasn't playing bass at all. I was still on drums. So yeah, I played all over Europe, all over Mexico. I did that for years. And then my background as far as corporate is IT. I'm an IT guy in the corporate world. So when I kind of slowed down on playing basketball, I kind of joined the IT world, the corporate world. But
So was it your dream to make it to the NBA instead of being become a famous bass player?
ironically, I just wanted to make money. Basketball, I loved it, but going to the NBA was never something that woke up thinking about, going to sleep thinking about. I ended up being good because I put so much time in, but I never wanted that life per se. And ironically, again, with playing bass, growing up as a drummer, I never wanted to play bass. The reason why and how I ended up playing bass is because I wanted to fit in somewhere. It's a million drummers on every corner waiting their turn. And I just looked at the stage tried to see what was available. And, I soon discovered wasn't very many bass players. That were doing the job. So that's how I ended up playing bass.
Okay. Now you said that I think we talked earlier, but you were saying kind of tell us where you're originally from, and kind of give us an idea of what drew you. I know you said I guess it was a matter of circumstances that drew you to the bass as far as like that was
Hmm.
the way to get the availability to play. But is there something about the bass that kind of made you stick with it?
Yes, there's definitely. I mean, to me, bass and drums kind of go hand in hand. I mean, we both have to lock together. We have to create that groove and lock together, because if we don't, the relationship between the bass and drummer, if it's not cohesive, then the music is not going to come across the way that it should. You know, the fact, I mean, you can tell when a bass player and a drummer is struggling or fighting against each other on stage because it sounds like chaos. You're not able to lock into the groove. You know, even as a fan or a person that's in the audience, you know, most people may not be able to articulate what's wrong or what's going on the stage, but they know something isn't right. But on the other side, if we're locked together, you know, people bobbing their head is inevitable.
Mhm.
You know, that's kind of how that works. But again, I'm from Mississippi, born and raised, grew up church, you know, church drummer, church boy, church kid. That's all I ever known. And just playing, you know, moving over to bass was a smooth transition for me because I was always around music. I always paid attention to the other instruments. Um, but drums was my main instrument for years. And like I said, looking around the stage trying to see what was available, what was left to you know, the open spots. You know, bass was that spot. And once I started playing, I fell in love with the instrument, and I can't imagine doing anything else. You know, to the point where I don't even play drums anymore.
Wow. Well, that's a pretty cool story because I know that
Right.
you also began to work on new music for yourself as well. Kind of tell us about your new project and kind of where you think you may be heading with it.
Um, my new project, I've been working on this thing for a while. I'm not one of those writers that stuff just flow to, you know, just off the top of the dome. I'm not one of those writers. I wasn't blessed with that ability. So I write as things come to me. Um which is, you know, it's taking longer, a little longer than I hoped to, but I didn't want to put out a project where you have one or two songs and the rest were fillers. I want to have a project out to where you press play, you know, on the first track, and you letting it ride through the entire, you know, the project. I didn't want to put out just any old thing for the sake of saying that I have an album, you know, or have a record out. But the direction that I'm going in, uh, I'm funk. I'm funk driven. I'm very funk driven. You know, that's pretty much my lane. I'm able and have the ability to play a lot of different genres of music, and you know, it'll be kind of a wide spectrum, but the undertone is gonna be funk. It's gonna be fun. You know, so that's pretty much what the direction I'm headed to in with this project. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to get it done.
and
Yeah.
um, and you're doing all the writing on it as well, huh?
Not all. I'm open. I'm still receiving some tracks. I got a couple of my friends that I'm working with that actually know me. So I like they know Michael Norwood, not Mike the artist. They know Michael Norwood. So we're able to dig and go down some paths and write some things that kind of you you know, describe who I am as a person and not an artist. So I'm really excited about that. So it's gonna be some transparency on this thing. So.
And one of the reasons that we kind of talking about that is that you have a show coming up pretty soon with Marietta Jazz and Jokes. Tell us a little bit about that show and kind of, you know, what can we expect?
Oh man, this is for my boy, my big brother, Fontaine Lewis. The show is July 7th, which is this Saturday, July 7th. It's for Fontaine's birthday bash. I really love this dude. He's like my big brother. I can't say anything more than that. He's been there for me since I've been in the city of Atlanta. He's one of the first people that gave me work here or gave me an opportunity. And every time I play at his for anything that he does, it's always high energy. My shows are always high energy. I kind of be bouncing around all over the place. A lot of people that know me when they come to see me play for the first time, they're looking at me like in the middle of the show, like, "Are you the same guy?" Like, because usually I'm much more reserved and laid back off the stage, but the show is gonna be very high driven, high energy. I'm gonna try to get Fontaine on stage. He don't know it yet, but I mean, I'm gonna try to get him on stage to do something with me if I can convince him to do that. But it's gonna be very, very high energy, very funky, very melodic. You know, so please come out Saturday, July 7th.
Mhm. And what is that location? I think is You remember the address of the location?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I think it's Marietta Square.
The
It's at
Marriott
the
Square, I think
Marietta
it's
Square.
164 Roswell
Right.
Street.
Something.
But and they also have a comedian in between sets, which is
Absolutely.
and if I remember correctly, people can bring their own food and drink. So it's a lot of really cool fun. It's kind of like a Chastain style, where people bring their own food and own drinks and they enjoy the music and kind of picnic style. But it's inside a building, in real nice artsy type.
Right. It's inside of a loft. It's like all exposed brick. It's really nice how the concept that Fontaine, put together. He call it the living room. You have couches in, there are tables, so people are able to come in and just get real comfortable as if they're at home watching a live show, but literally from their couch. So it's a really, really nice concept. It's a great concept, and it works. So yeah, I'm gonna be part of what I do in my show. I kind of sit down as a fan too, because the musicians that I'm very fortunate to have in my band, second to none, and I'm fans of theirs. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Do you have a little tease you can give us of what we can expect musically and what kind of music you're gonna be doing?
Well, as I already said, it's gonna be some funk in there somewhere, but we're gonna touch a little bit of everything because the crowd that's usually there, or usually when I perform there, is kind of multifaceted type crowd. So I want to have something for everybody. So we're going to be all over the place, but it's still going to work within the confines of what's going on. So just have to show up, man. Just have to show up.
Well, we'll be there. And for those people who are interested in following you and kind of like seeing what you're up to and maybe purchasing your music once you're ready for it, how can they do so?
You can hit me up on Facebook, just Michael Norwood, and you see the picture comes up, and I think Instagram is Norwood_heartbeats, and that's heartbeats with a Z. So you can reach me at either of those platforms, and I'll return the message. I'm pretty good about trying to check that and get back to it.
Right. And if also if people are interested in purchasing tickets to the show, they can go to Eventbrite and look up Michael Norwood, and they can purchase tickets under your name for Eventbrite, Marietta Jazz and Jokes. And we'll have a link here for you as well. But Michael, we appreciate you joining us for one more time. Tell us, give us the pitch for people to come to the show.
Hey, come out to Marietta Jazz and Jokes to support my boy. Help me celebrate his birthday, Fontaine Lewis. We're going to have great live music, higher energy live music, and great comedians in the interim in between each set. And you won't be disappointed. Bring your food, bring your beverage, and just come ready to have fun and to get down with us. Can't wait to see you there.